The Love Life and Lose Weight podcast will teach you the art and science of changing your habits around food. If you know what to do, but can't figure out why you're just not doing it, this is the right podcast for you. I'm your host, Advanced Certified Weight and Life Coach Heather Beardsley. I've helped hundreds of women just like you figure out how to think and eat like a normal eater, lose weight, and love life on the journey to goal weight and beyond. Welcome to episode 110. Last episode, I talked to you about what's stealing your attention and the value of your attention. Today, I'm going to talk to you about what keeps you from focusing on yourself. So where your attention to yourself, to your needs, to your goals gets abandoned in favor of other things happening in your life. I see this happening a lot in my clients, this sort of self-abandonment or self-attention abandonment is one of the key factors that gets in the way of consistency with your intended habits around food, and it can negatively impact the results that you're getting from your weight management efforts. So this is about the hidden ways we abandon ourselves that don't look like self-abandonment on the surface. And it's a little bit of a paradox because it is a little bit hard to see the self-abandonment that we do in the name of usually helping other people, supporting other people, doing what's right. Or when we work from feelings of guilt, right? These ideas of like wrongdoing and right doing that we don't really question. So let's talk more about it. Again, the biggest obstacle to losing weight isn't usually emotional eating or sugar or consistency or willpower. It's usually circumstances that happen hours or sometimes days, even before you make the choice to overeat. It's self-abandoning your needs that precedes the overeating that can tend to happen. And the tricky part is that most of us don't realize it because it, like I said before, it doesn't look selfish. Oftentimes, this looks like responsible or admirable behavior, or it looks like loving toward other people, or it looks productive. It looks like being a good wife, a good mom, a good employee, a good daughter, or a good friend. But week after week, when I coach women, I keep seeing the same exact pattern. When we reverse engineer the overeats that are keeping the scale stuck or even you gaining on the scale. So when we work backward, it's never an intention really to overeat. I mean, those are rare. It's more like, well, what happened to lead up to that? And when we trace the breadcrumbs back to the inciting event, that self-abandonment that happens creates a vacuum within yourself that needs care, that needs attention. That is the cost of self-abandoning, the cost of removing the focus from the basic things that you need as a human being. And food oftentimes has become the habitual thing that my clients, and sometimes myself, right, that I turn to for some of that care. If you've ever wondered, why did I overeat? I wasn't even hungry. I think today's episode could be very enlightening for you to help you become aware of the ways that you might be self-abandoning. So it doesn't, like I said, begin with food. It starts earlier. Just in the past 2 weeks, I realized, I haven't really been spending time in my client sessions coaching on the food itself. It's been coaching boundaries around what my clients want to decide to do or not to do when certain circumstances happen. It's me coaching women around how they want to start showing up so that they don't start disappearing as a factor in their own lives. For example, I had one client who recalled, and we were talking about how the scale didn't really give her results, and she's very consistent with results. So when she doesn't get results, like there's definitely, we can always trace it back to something that was going on. And in this case, she spent 2 days helping somebody else finish a project. She told me how she stayed up to midnight. It was a last minute request, and this happened 2 nights in a row. It was so disruptive to her weekend that she actually forgot to take her GLP-1 medication. I mean, she didn't even realize until it was days later. She barely slept because she was up so late. She was eating anything and everything because that effort to help this person totally disrupted her regular plans for her meals. And by the end of the weekend, she's totally exhausted. So her words to me are, I overate all weekend, right? And it's like on the surface, it's like, okay, why did you overeat? But in the context of this circumstance where she chose to help someone that she truly loves and wants to help, the cost of that was the overeating because she created huge gaps in her human needs for sleep, for rest, for regular meals, for protein, and for some time off for herself. I mean, she herself works so hard. She really needs her weekend to kind of decompress and recover and have some joy and some enjoyment in her own weekend. And instead, she spent it like helping this person. And we had to talk about her boundaries around, okay, if you could do this all over again, what can you change? Like, because if she keeps doing this, not only is she teaching this person that she's sort of on tap and that how much she's willing to do to their benefit at the expense of her own. And we had to create minimum guidelines for like what she chooses to do and not do anymore. And, listen, this is the way that it goes. We have to kind of Monday morning quarterback things that happen, choices that we make, break it down and decide like, is this working for me? Now, in some cases, if this was like really rare for my client, this could just be a one-off kind of thing that she's like, no, like this was really an exception to the rule. It almost never happens. And I'm just happy to help, and I'll take the slight increase on the scale because of it this week, because I really love and care about this person. This is part of my value system. But actually, in this case, this is more like a pattern that has been repeating pretty consistently with this person in her life. And it's just unsustainable. It goes back to that podcast episode that I recorded called Anti-Fragile Weight Loss, where we have to start identifying and decreasing the negative impact of things that create a fragility in how we show up around food. All right, another example. Another client of mine was caring for a family member after an unexpected death. And she did something remarkable. She followed her travel routine. She maintained her weight. She practiced her boundaries. And she reminded herself that even in her interaction with extended family and some that are challenging for her, that they get to show up however they get to show up. That is not hers to carry. And so instead of abandoning herself emotionally, as was the case in her past, because we have been coaching on this, and she's been playing with this idea of like, they get to be them. And how do I want to show up, regardless of how they show up? She was able to stay with herself. And not only through this grief event, did she not gain weight, as would be typical for any travel event for her, but particularly for this circumstance that also involves grief, which is a heavy emotional load, she was able to maintain. So I give you these two examples as one example in which you can start to get traction to learn what your boundaries are, that you can minimize the ways that you self-abandon so that the effect on your goals for your weight are minimized. And the other example was as a result of coaching around boundaries for a couple of years, actually, for her to get to this place where she can just maintain. I mean, she told me it felt like incredible freedom for her. Like a weight was literally lifted. I mean, no pun intended. And it was. So this is powerful stuff, really powerful stuff. Okay. Let's talk about the ways that self-abandonment is disguised. We never say, oh, I self-abandoned today. It's always like an extraction that you have to make when you look a little bit closer at what things look like on the surface. So it can be really small things like, well, I don't want to take a break from uh, getting my work done. I'll eat later. Self-abandonment. I don't have time to stop and get groceries today. I'll just shop tomorrow. Self-abandonment, right? You need food in your fridge to eat the way that you want to eat, to give yourself meals that feel satisfying, right? That give you the protein that you deserve and need for your body. And if you don't have the food, you might just run through a drive-through or allow yourself to get too full. Self-abandonment sounds like, oh, this person needs me. I'll exercise tomorrow. I'll just skip my medication tonight. It'll be easier if I just do it all myself. Sound familiar? These are all little ways that we disguise self-abandonment in the name of virtuous, so-called virtuous attending to others while we abandon ourselves. Every one of these decisions is a vote. Not really a vote about food, but it's a vote about how you value your relationship with yourself. I'm going to give you another example about these disguises of self-abandonment. One of my clients realized that she was having a conversation with herself in the kitchen about how it's just easier to wash the dishes that her family has piled up in the sink. How it's just easier than having to give out to other people or find out who the culprit was. You know, when we are in that moment in front of this sink, thinking like, what are our choices? None of them are great, honestly, right? They all require some kind of energetic resource from us. And it is hard to know in these little moments, like we don't want to overthink it. We just want to be free of the friction of the moment. Um, but choosing to clean up everybody else's mess is a vote for over responsibility or carrying others' responsibilities in the household. Um, Somewhere along the way, my client's nervous system sort of learned through a lifetime of mothering, even when her kids were younger, like it's just easier for me if I take care of everything. And, you know, as moms whose young children eventually become older children, the responsibilities shift there, right? But that old tendency to kind of overcarry for others as the easiest path may no longer serve you. And the imprint of the decision to just clean up other people's messes now creates a bigger imprint of feeling resentful, and will kind of tap on that old limiting belief of like, everything falls on my shoulders, you know, everybody just dumps literally their dirty shit on me, right? And that's a energetic and emotional load that she's choosing to carry. And in my coaching with her, I had to ask her, are you sure you want to keep carrying this? Over functioning creates a physiological environment in the body that can literally stop your fat loss because it's a stress load that will compete with the body's sensing that everything is safe and peaceful, because it kind of isn't, you know? Um, it's not just about one dish in the, in the sink. This is about a lifetime of carrying responsibilities for other people. And it's not nothing. I don't want you all to flip this off. It's not just about the one dish in the sink. This is about breaking free when it's appropriate from over carrying what is not yours to carry, and a constant over functioning that keeps your body in the subtle state of hypervigilance that definitely can get in the way of weight loss, especially if you are in the last 20 pounds um, before your goal weight. These little things really do have more of an impact the fewer pounds you have to go. So it's difficult to rest when you are thinking that everybody's sort of dumping their chores on you? Okay, another thing I want to say about this is that over functioning isn't always generosity. Sometimes it's just anxiety wearing this productivity costume, right? I'll just do all the dishes, it's easier, because then I don't have to look at the sink. Then I don't have to think about how people are selfish in my household and they don't, or they're just unthinking about the impact of this on me. And yeah, it's like not just about one dish in the sink, it's decades of dishes in the sink that don't belong to you, where other people think and believe that you'll just take care of it. I mean, the cumulative impact over time of this on women's psyches cannot be overstated. And it actually really riles me up that we still live in a society where intelligent, loving people who love us, still think that this is okay. And the truth is, this is our responsibility to teach people how to treat us. If it doesn't feel good and it's creating friction in your nervous system and your emotions, this is something that you need to work on as part of your weight management, believe it or not. Okay, I want to just say that, to take a pause here for a second and tell you that I'm coming out with a fall seasonal planner in September. It will include September, October, November, and December of 2026 only. And because of that, it will be offered for a discount price. So, planning can really help you take a look at some of these ways that you're over functioning, because it includes planning your time, planning your day, and you'll be able to see where you might be spending time that isn't aligned with how you want to spend your time. So, if you've been wanting to try my planner, this would be a great way for you to kind of jump in for a low price. You can learn more about it at hbeardsley.com/planner starting in September. Okay, so back to the episode. What do we do instead of self-abandonment? Well, I tend to ask my clients a lot of really good questions in this area, because the truth is, I don't know what's right for my clients. Just because you might be over functioning doesn't mean it's not right for you, actually, because sometimes we want to over function during certain phases of life, or for certain people, or for a certain period of time. So I don't ask them only well, what did you eat and why did you eat it? But I ask, like, what was the cadence of your day like? How did your body feel? How did you sleep the night before? Are you noticing physical hunger? Are you still checked in when you're having that meal to like the taste of your food, or are you eating in a distracted environment? Um, why were you having that snack at 3 p.m.? Were you actually hungry for it, or was it because you were tired? Or when my client talks about how she's spending her time in a way that feels, crunchy or has friction, I ask her, like, why did you agree to do something that you didn't have the time for or that you didn't have the bandwidth for? Or why did you agree to attend this graduation if you didn't really want to be there? Those kinds of things. Sometimes this is taking responsibility for another adult's emotions. In the last podcast episode, I talked to you about how I started thinking that I should kind of steer my husband away from playing traffic cop on our little country street for the speeders who were speeding by. I mean, even your coach can get caught up in this stuff. These are moments that can create slight self-abandonment, right? Or heavy self-abandonment that then lead to eating from in the moment urges or the desire to distract ourselves from how we've self-abandoned later. So food itself isn't creating the problem. Food is often responding to the problem of self-abandonment. So I want to give you a practical exercise. Tonight, before bed, instead of asking yourself, well, how did I eat? Like in a performance way, which isn't really helpful, I want you to ask yourself, where did I stay with myself today? Where did I choose myself? Where did I honor my limits? Maybe another good question, where did I tell myself the truth? Even one answer to one of these good questions can begin to rebuild trust. So it's not, I don't want to give you the impression that when you make some of these choices that, you know, compromises your needs, that it's sort of fatalistic from there. No, actually, use what you're noticing about self abandonment to start to rebuild trust. You can only learn from what's not working. So never judge yourself for when you notice what's not working. Study it, learn from it, and then do experiments to see how you can slightly change up things to make it feel easier. Like in the example of my client who stayed up late helping um, somebody she loves put a project together, and she didn't sleep and she forgot her medication. She was overeating because of it. She was so exhausted. What she ended up doing was telling me she's going to have clear boundaries. Like, look, I want to help you, but I need at least a few days' notice ahead of time. And I'm not going to stay up that late anymore. Right. And based on when it happens again, she'll let him know when is right to like cut that off. But she's that behavior that she defaults to, where she self abandons, doesn't have a shot in hell of getting improved unless she studies the issue and looks at the parts that she might want to keep, and then looks at the parts that are definitely causing the most negative impact for her. So for her, it was, I want to know so I can plan ahead for when I'm going to help you. And then I really can't do that late at night, right? I need to do it when I'm more fresh. And she can make the time to do that. She has flexibility in her schedule. So use what you're learning about little ways that we self abandon, study them, and make a plan for yourself for, hey, in this instance, or maybe you have one or two where you see this pattern in yourself and how you relate to other people or even just yourself. And try to see and run an experiment about how you can just clean it up a little bit so that the negative impact is less. And you just start there. You don't have to solve all of the problems all in one go. Just work at the edges of what is creating a negative impact with your eating and try to clean it up a little bit. And you just keep going from there. Okay. Most women think they need more discipline. And I can tell you from, gosh, probably 20,000 hours of one-on-one coaching women with their weight that it's not about more discipline. Women like you need more moments where you stop abandoning yourselves. Because every time you start to choose yourself, not selfishly, but like honestly and sustainably choose yourself, you are going to send your nervous system a powerful message that you have to matter too. And when your body starts believing that, when you start choosing that, and you start practicing that, and you start saying, nope, I don't do that anymore, then your weight management will become more consistent and easier because your body isn't bracing for the inevitable self-abandonment that it recognizes in your past. This is how you change your life, not only in your body composition, right? But in how you see yourself, your reputation with yourself. And when you start doing that, you can really start looking forward to a future in which you are your own best confidant and the one you depend on the most. You're rock solid with yourself. So it will become easier. I hope that helps. Please visit me on Instagram at Thrive in Midlife and follow me there. If you have not given me a review on this podcast and you've been listening for 4 seasons, please give me a review. 5-star reviews go so far to help me. I am a one-woman solopreneur, and your review really, really helps me. So please do that for me today. I really appreciate you. Thanks for joining me. Stay focused, and so long. Hey, if this episode resonated for you, then let's connect. Visit hbeardsley.com/subscribe. That's HBEARDSLEY.com/subscribe and become a VIP subscriber. You'll learn how to work with me. You'll get 2 free gifts, access to exclusive VIP content, and get a discount on the digital follow-through planner.